I can tell you where hip hop came to me in my consciousness. I was a little white kid from Kentucky who was a big hip hop fan. Starting, I was born in 1975, and I would say my doorway in was Run DMC in about '86. And but that very quickly, within about 2 years of that, there was released NWA, Straight Outta Compton. I think came out in about '88,
Yes.
and I probably got to it about a year after it came out. But I listened to it obsessively. I remember my buddy Vishan Snow made me a tape, and it was I think on one side it was NWA, not the whole Straight Outta Compton album, but some songs, and then on the other side I think was what was it? It was either Public Enemy. I think it was a Public Enemy album, and I heard you went back then. I think people thought that Public Enemy was the epitome of social consciousness in hip hop, or at least one of the leaders of that side of the music. And people used to say that NWA was the other side, that they talked about violence and gangsters and sex and drugs and all that other difficulty. But I don't think it's like that clear cut when we look back on it, because Rodney King took his beating in about, what, 90, 91, something like that?
About 91, yeah.
It's about 2 years after Straight Outta Compton came out.
Yeah.
And if you had, I think a lot of people nationwide were surprised at the incident with the police and Rodney King and the beating that he endured and that whole thing, and then the acquittal of the officers and the subsequent riots, and then the federal case. I think it took a lot of people from different parts of the country by surprise. But if you had been listening to NWA,
Right, exactly.
you were not so surprised that people were real angry with the situation in Los Angeles at the time. And I was 12 years old going to private school in Louisville, Kentucky, and I knew about it because of the music. I was unsurprised by all that stuff that happened because someone had told me all about it a couple of years before, a year or so before. And Chuck D, who was on the other side of that tape that I had, he, I think, famously called hip hop or rap music the CNN of Black America.
Yeah.
And he may have been right, but it wasn't just Black America that was listening to hip hop. Kids my age, white kids, were listening to it. And hip hop and rap music has been not only a way for, I think, for black folks to communicate with each other and talk about what they think is important, but a real good window into the same thing for white people, white folks. I think if today's hip hop artists and rappers are not as socially conscious as they should be and are not carrying those messages, they give up a great tool and a great opportunity to talk to people who might otherwise not share their perspective. And just to continue on with what you were talking about, the president today, or yesterday, I guess, I think what he was talking about was point of view and perspective. And I think it was sort of a teachable moment for the president to come on and tell a nationwide audience that black folks look at things from a different perspective sometimes than white folks. And I think that we all live amongst each other here, but there's very little understanding between the two communities. And I think you can see that in the reaction to the speech by some of the more conservative political elements out there who tend to be really, they don't tend to have a lot of color to them. But you can see, but hip hop is a way for to share that perspective between the two communities that don't have a lot of understanding of each other. And if we can build on that understanding, it can only benefit the nation as a whole, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, and we were talking a little bit off air about it was this is an old school hip hop concert coming up on the waterfront, Fresh Fest, but it was me, you know these people, me, Eric Bates, Christian Tibbs, and his wife went up to and saw the Kings of the Mic tour with it was Public Enemy, it was LL Cool J, De La Soul, and Slick Rick, and who else? Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh, and who was I forgot, man.
Slick Rick and
Slick
Dougie.
Rick's DJ, huh?
Did Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh get on there?
Chaos, my fault. Yeah, and
They did a little lottie dottie together.
They did Lottie Dottie. They did the 6 minute joint. Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean
Yeah.
it was one of those things, man. You know how it takes you back. It takes you back, and but like you were talking about, the music, man. The music, that was that's good time music, fun, and Public Enemy, of course, is like the social conscious, the barometer of that time and even now. But I mean, there's no one. It seems that there's no one that has really taken their place in that respect. I mean, and maybe maybe it's not fair. Maybe people will say it's not fair to have a lot of pressure and blah blah blah. That was the time, and of course all that stuff coincided. Because Public Enemy coincided with went hand in hand with Spike Lee.
Sure, absolutely.
With those movies, Do the Right Thing. He got game. Later on he got Game. Chuck D and Public Enemy are still still doing it together.
Oh, I've given a lot of thought to Do the Right Thing here in the last few days.
Yeah.
It seemed, in the wake of the Zimmerman verdict and people's reactions, it seemed awful tense out there between folks. And that movie captures the tensions that between clashing communities or communities that have a lack of understanding, maybe better than anything I've ever seen before it came out or seen since. That is a great movie, maybe one of my favorites, and I felt like I was living it a little bit, reading people's comments on the internet, on Facebook, and all that.
It's crazy, man. I mean, I was before the show. I was talking to a good friend of mine, and he was just telling me, and I saw I'm his friend on Facebook too, and I saw some comments that were on his page, and he was kind of going back and forth with some cats that were on there saying some crazy type stuff. But I'm gonna tell you, man, I listened to I'm a Funkadelic fan, right? And I listened to I was listening to Eddie Hazel, Maggie Brain, right? The solo he's got on Maggie Brain, and I was like,
all 12 minutes of it.
yeah. But you know what? The funny part about that, right? I heard a story about how that song came about, how that solo came about. I don't know if you heard it.
No, tell me about it.
I'll tell you about it.
Let's talk it over.
And it was man. Somebody, I think George Clinton went to Eddie Hazel's, like, I think they did a couple takes and it wasn't what they wanted. And he said, look, what you do is think of the worst feeling that you could ever feel. And he was like, and he played it, and they were like, yeah, that's it. And then afterwards he asked him, he said, what do you think about it? He said he thought about his mother dying, right? And I was like, wow, And it's one of those, I guess it's just, all the, how the stories go, all the great songs are made through great pain and all that other type of stuff. But I don't, I had to reach, and my point is, man, I had to reach back, right, to a song that was written and played, like, how many, 40 years ago. And I was like, to me, there is no song now, and it might be, but I don't know a song that encapsulates the feeling that I felt after that verdict was read. I mean, it's just no song. Because, OJ, I was in college, and we were happy. So I didn't need a song. I didn't need a song. It was like, you know, we play. I guess
Well, the
we
party
playing-
song
Yeah, it
worked
was
for
a
that.
party song. Right? We playing Snoop or whatever was out, because that was like It was at 92. 94. So yeah, you know, it was whatever was out at the time. West Coast was still running things, so it was the West Coast. When Roddy King was out, of course, you know, it was NWA. It was West Coast again, right? Because it happened on the West Coast. But this time, I didn't have a song, and I was like, wow, man. I was just sitting there, and it was just like a numbness, you know?
Yeah, I don't know the anthem from Florida that we're going to play to be the soundtrack, as you say, to this problem. Maybe there isn't, or maybe we're just old and don't know who what the kids are listening to out there.
Maybe, man.
It could be. Hip hop is a youth culture, and it's a youth culture that pretty much sprang up during our lifetimes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean,
and you know, our children who are about the same age we were talking about earlier, they're never going to live in a world that did not have that culture, and it's so pervasive. You know, my daughter doesn't know the difference between singing and rapping and samples and live guitars. It's all just music to her.
Right.
Of course, when I started listening to rap and hip hop music, you know, most of my peers tried to tell me that it was not music and that it was a fad that would disappear. And I've always taken great great pleasure in reflecting on how wrong they were.
I mean, you know, good music is good music, man.
Absolutely.
You know, and like, yeah, you know, just when we were coming up, I graduated in 92. So we're about, you know, you was born in 75, I was born in 74. So I got you by a year, a couple months or whatever. But it's the same generation, you know. What are we? Baby, kids are baby boomers, or whatever. But you know, came up on Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, Flavor Unit, all that stuff. You know, X-Clan,
KRS-One.
KRS-One
It had to be that man walked, talked, and couldn't stop his consciousness at any time. Almost to his own detriment from time to time.
Especially to his record sales. Detriment of his record sales.
Yeah. KRS-One.
But yeah, like you said, Public Enemy before. Even LL Cool J, he made a song called "Illegal Search," like, you know, later on.
I have to go back and check that one out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it was kind of similar to Jay-Z's
99
Problems, but
but you know, I think the point I would like to make about NWA is, you know, people said that at the time they would compare the East Coast at the time was consciousness rapping. That was KRS-One, and that was Tribe Called Quest, and all the native tongue folks, and
Poor Righteous Teachers,
Brad Nubian, and all that. You know, all that. There was all that 5%er mythology, like all deep inside of it. Once you get a little deeper down below the surface, and that's enough to blow my mind. When I was a kid, I don't even know if I probably didn't get it the first time, but these were the guys that everybody said were you know, they were worried about social consciousness, but you were seeing an expression of a social consciousness right out of that West Coast, even though they were talking about things that I guess people disapproved of, you know, the gangster lifestyle and violence and sex and drugs. They awoke into consciousness and predicted things that came true, and it seemed like they told you that those riots were going to occur maybe a year or two before they did.
Oh yeah, I mean,
of course,
you know,
there was a long history of riots in Los Angeles.
Well, definitely, it was definitely a long history. But you know, those were kids, because they're our age now.
Mm-hmm.
So those were kids of the late, I guess probably late 60s, 70s, and they didn't see it, but their parents were a direct descendant of, you know, the Reagan era type stuff, where he was the governor in California. You know, the Huey Newton, Bobby Seale, George Jackson, Angela Davis, and they came up again with the crack epidemic, and so they lived the history, And you know, I guess it's one of those types of things that if you live it, then it's a part of you. And I guess they expressed what they came up with also, and what they experienced as teenagers. And like you said, that stuff came to fruition, and it was crazy because they were the CNN period, because nobody was covering it, And it was that same because that's when John Singleton came up, Boys in the Hood. It was sensationalized, of course, kind of black exploitation, but it made, at the time, it made sense. I guess you had to sensationalize it to get attention because nobody was really reporting it.
It's certainly, that movie definitely hit hard at the time. I think looking back on it as an adult, I definitely see where it's simplistic and maybe a little corny, and it's in certain moments. Not to take away from
preachy, right?
Because it was very preachy at the end. But that's coming from the point of view of a guy with 2 kids in his late 30s. When I was younger, I took it deadly seriously. I believed it and thought it to be a very important statement.
Yeah, I mean, and it was, it is, and those were the times that we lived through, and we were living in, and now it just seems to me that there's really not, we don't have that. I don't know, and in fairness, I will say this, from, like I said before, now you've got, because back then you did not have the diversity in the newsroom, and I think now, to an extent, you have a bit of diversity in the newsroom. I mean, you watch, you wouldn't in the '90s you would not see. It was it seemed to be a regional thing, maybe regional, barely getting, a little slowly but surely getting national press. But now all of a sudden this Trayvon Martin thing was instantaneously through Twitter, through social media, it became a national thing, and you saw black reporters. You got, like I said, you got black guys writing in the Times, in Washington Post, like I said, Eugene Robinson, Charles Blow, writing editorials, writing columns. You got, Al Sharpton's got a show to talk about it. Trayvon Martin's parents have been on every single show, from Al Sharpton to the English guy, Piers Morgan. They've been on CBS Morning. They've been on everything, and it seems to be a push, in at least this instance, to get a point of view. And for whatever reason, if it sells, if it's a sexy topic, but maybe the news coverage and the daily talk show stuff has made up for some, in my opinion, the lack of music or. Well,
let's give the kids a chance. When did that verdict come? When did that verdict come down? Saturday.
Came out Saturday.
Saturday. So it's been 1 week.
Give them a chance.
Maybe they get it. Maybe it's about to hit the airwaves.
Yeah.
Who do the kids even listen to these days?
Man, I don't know. I have no idea. But if you know, give us a call.
Yeah,
776.
Call and catch us up.
Yeah.
2 old guys.
776. Yeah, right. What, old school OGs. That's what this kid called me. I was on a basketball court, but I was like 20 something at the time. He said, "What's up, OG?"
OG at 20 something.
I said, "Wow, I don't have long to go." But give us a call. 776-1350. 776-1350 is the number to call. Get in on this conversation about the what do you think is hip hop, in light of this, especially in light of the Trayvon Martin trial, the ruling, the aftermath, is hip hop socially conscious enough? Give us a call. We'll be right back. Let's talk it over. That's cool. Formula.
Talk.
That's what we do, man. Talk with 30 minutes.
Hey, I'm Brandon Lawrence, the lawyer for the city.
Well, probably what happened, it'll go quick now because people start calling in. It's real quick.
Huh? You missing a point. them guys y'all named, them guys were smart. They was educated people.
You
That's
said-
a Sonic, Fat Boy. You made Public Enemy. All them cats were smart, intelligent.
Nah.
They could read and write. You know what I'm saying?
You
Cool
said
J. You know what I'm
can't
saying?
do it. Gucci Man can't do it.
No.
Who's
Kids,
hot?
kids
Who's
There's not
hot?
much to
Lil?
do in the
They
pen
can't
other than
read.
read.
What you think? What you
That's
think?
Sonic.
Who's hot now?
Who's hot now? They not conscious though.
You don't think?
Well, that's
So no, you think anybody's gonna do anything or make something or?
somebody gonna say something.
I know just Siri X. He's a coach.
That's a Sonic, man.
Is he a
Float
local
on.
guy?
No, he's from Philly. He's real conscious.
Float.
That's a Trayvon song.
Float on.
But there's like,
Jeezy got a Trayvon song.
That's what
A
you
tribute to Trayvon.
Man, I'm telling you.
Have you
man.
heard that Jeezy tribute to Jay from Young Jeezy? No.
I haven't heard.
Yeah.
He out there.
pushing Jeezy.
He's real old.
I think Jay Z would
Like,
probably.
Jeezy's my age, man. He's got
I'm
it.
talking about him.
I think Jay Z.
And we're back. We just talking a little bit off air, and the same topic that we're on today. Do you think hip hop is socially conscious enough, especially in light of the whole Trayvon Martin ordeal, or do you think that they don't have a responsibility? Does it really matter? I've heard people say that we've got to move beyond symbolism, marches, and I guess that would probably include music, art, expression, things like that. We've got to move it beyond street protests and take it to the legislator and take it to your elected officials. But I mean, historically, man, that's how people have to have an outlet.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
Music has been a way to express political ideas since long before hip hop.
Sure.
And you got to give people a little sugar with the medicine. If you get them listening, then you can get your message across. But nobody's listening to a conscious rap that doesn't have a good beat.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you could talk about something great, but yeah, you gotta have people have to want to listen to it.
I think you pick your spots. There's probably I don't want to like I keep saying, I can't speak too much to what is now and what is new, but nobody is either conscious all the time or not into consciousness all the time. There's a duality to anyone, and if you are expressing yourself through music, hopefully that duality comes out. Think about Tupac. He could have keep your head up on the one hand and hit them up on the other hand,
Right.
and they would not. Yeah, I get around. Keep your head up and I get around.
Bring this
So
guy
baby
Bing.
dog, are you down?
But yeah, I mean, he was a smart guy, very very smart. But and I guess that's the whole thing of it, right? You can't be all. Nobody is all any one thing. Nobody's all serious all the time. Nobody's all fun and games all the time, because that would be you go crazy.
But Tupac is an interesting example because he did have those two different sides to him, and he had a very direct connection to that 60s and